right, welcome back to Farm Fit and my preview for Provincials 2026. It's been a minute since you've seen just me and since I've done an actual update on how prep has gone. I've been able to interview a couple of people about shows that they've done, and there's one coming up as of recording, coming up later this week, Battle at the Brink. You can check out the interview I did with Andrew ahead of that show on the channel. I'll try to remember to link it here. If I don't, it's because I have a very small, smooth brain and tend to forget a lot of things. So I did that. Since then, I also volunteered at Muskoka Mayhem. I had Marshall Hinton on here talking about that show, which was a lot of fun. The show itself was really good. Luckily, we got everything done before the rain hit, which was great. I'm hoping for the same result this coming weekend at Andrew's show. His show, for the most part, has been really great in terms of weather. It's all done outside. Last year being the exception. The first 3 years of the show, 2 years? Is this 4? I don't remember what one we're on. I think this is 4. The first 2 years of the show, beautiful weather. It's like 25, 30 degrees, sunny, amazing. Last year, the complete opposite. It was cold and raining. So I've had a look ahead at the long range forecast, and this weekend is promising to be nicer, which is great. Outside of that, I'm also going to be doing some live stream work on a powerlifting show the following weekend. It's an abs show, ABS, and it's put on at Just Be Strong down in Niagara Falls. A friend of mine, Justin Zottle's putting it on. He's an old coach of mine as well. Good friend, good dude. It's going to be a good show. I'm excited to be a part of that and help out there as well because I do love powerlifting, even though right now I'm doing strongman. So I also apologize if things look a little bit different since the last time you've seen me. I have lost a bar back there. I had to return it. I borrowed it from my friend Tamara. She was nice enough to lend it to me when I was stuck inside having to train through the winter, which was great. However, it is her bar. She needed it back. Thank you, Tamara, for letting me borrow it. And thank you for all your continued help, both with my nutrition and in my personal life as well, because you've been a big supporter of mine, and that means a lot to me. So just a quick little shout out there. Outside of that, we are still in prep. We've got 8 weeks until Provincials, more like 7 weeks of training. And there's been some good, some bad in that time since the last time I was on here. So first and foremost, let's get into some of the weights because they did announce the weights for 3 of the events. Now, the event order is subject to change, which is fine. I'm okay with that. But, another thing you might notice that's changed before I go on is I'm a little bit darker today. It's because my light behind my camera is not working. I cannot get it to pair with my computer for some reason or my phone. So it's just decided that it doesn't want to shine down on me. So instead, you get this a little bit darker, a little bit moodier, a little bit more Christopher Nolan, if you will. Oh, wow. And an uneven mustache. Need to take better care of myself. Anyways, the weights for Provincials, 3 of the events. The Trump Circus dumbbell for reps. Our weights are 165 on the smaller loadable dumbbell and 185 on the globe dumbbell. Trap bar deadlift for reps, 575. And yoke, 50 by 50 feet, is 745. So, initial thoughts. Dumbbell, intimidating. My dumbbell training has not gone well. I have not hit either of those comp weights in training yet. I've come close. I think I've done 145 or 150 on my loadable dumbbell. And a lot of it is technique based. I very much compartmentalize when it comes to form, but not in an effective way because I'll forget other pieces to it. So I'll remember that it's supposed to be a catch, that it's supposed to be like, get underneath it. Don't just press it, right? Try to catch it as you come off your shoulder with it. But my base was too wide. I was standing very wide, more like I was doing an axle press or a log. And as I was reminded, it's neither of those things. So I had to narrow my stance. And I had a miss on 155 this past week in training, but a lot of the form was right. So even though I failed it, probably because I was tired, the technique was there and was getting better. So I'm really excited to try to apply most of it this week in training to try to see if I can at least get to that 165. There's going to be a few guys in the group that can do the 180. So my goal is going to be to capitalize and get as much on the 165 as I can, because I don't think 180 is in my wheelhouse. I don't think it's going to be there. 155 is the best I've ever pressed, and that was at 2024 Provincials. And then did not do any circus dumbbell pressing last year, which is a bit of a detriment. So bringing it back in at the beginning of this year has definitely helped, but still a long way to go in 8 weeks to try to get up to even up to the 165. And I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy. If I get 180, cool, amazing. I'm just trying to be realistic based on how my prep has gone. And I don't think it's going to be there. I think realistically, my goal needs to be 165 for as many reps as I can. That needs to be my mindset for the next 8 weeks. Anything beyond that is just going to be a bonus. So what that looks like, I don't know. Because like I said, there are some really strong pressers in this group that I think can hit the 180. So my goal is just to try to be okay and get as many reps on 165. The trap bar deadlift for reps really threw me off because I was expecting it to be a lot heavier. I had predicted that it would be in the mid 6s, close to 7 for reps. 575 is incredibly light. And I don't know what kind of trap bar they're using. If they're using one like the one behind me back there. Oh, come on now. Yeah, there. That's going to be really easy because that's a higher handle set and it's a bigger bar, which means there's a lot more whip on it and everything's kind of farther away from you, which to me makes it easier. I've been training on a smaller bar, a lot closer to you, and have been doing, over close to 650 for reps. 575 for reps, again, depending on the bar, is going to be a race. And that is going to hinder myself because my cardio sucks. My endurance is just garbage. So, I've been working on my conditioning all prep. It's getting better, but to me, it's kind of like grip training where it's not something you can improve on quickly. It takes a long time. And unfortunately for me, it's been neglected for a long time. So I'm trying to make up some ground. So 575 for reps, man. This is one where, time is obviously going to be the factor on this. I don't think guys are going to get burnt out. I think they'll just run out of time. And this is one where, I don't know, like even 20 reps for some guys would not surprise me. Because there are some really good, really strong deadlifters that also have a lot of endurance. So there's a few guys I can look at the list and go, yeah, that's going to be more than 15 reps that they'll get easily, right? And then again, it's just a matter of how many reps they can bang out in that minute and a half or whatever we have to do it. Myself, double digits is the goal. 2024, we did a car deadlift for reps. And I think I got 11 or 12 reps on that, and it was over 600 pounds. And it was a similar setup to this, where it's a side handle, like a trap bar setup. So not exactly the same lift, but close enough that I'm kind of using that as my base to go, 2 years ago, it was 11 plus reps, heavier weight on a car deadlift. This, I should be able to do more than that. I did. And again, I'm not really comparing apples to apples here, but 535 or 530, whatever it was at Goliath Games on a conventional bar was 7 reps. I've got high hopes for myself that this is going to be, double digits, obviously, for myself, but also this will be how much can my heart handle before, or my lungs for that matter, before they start burning. And then they gave us the weight for the yoke, 745, 50 by 50. That's kind of where I thought it would be. Based on Goliath Games, which was 660, I figured this would be mid 7s, maybe a little bit heavier. 745 is good. I have worked with that in training, so I'm feeling good about that. I've done it for a straight run of 65, 70 feet. Not quickly, but did it. So again, that's more of a mental win for me. Where I'm looking at this event is very similar to how I approached Goliath Games, in the sense that I want to be able to hit comp weight for reps in prep when I'm not 100%. Because then I take into account my deload week before provincials, and then I'm rested the day of. It's like, okay, now we know that there's going to be a little bit more in the tank come the show. So the circus dumbbell's not quite there yet. I'm going to see what this week is like. Trap bar deadlift is for sure there. Yoke is there for sure as well. And then it's just a matter of whatever the loading medley and the tire is going to be. I don't imagine we'll get a weight on the tire. I'm kind of treating that like the sled drag events we've had in the past where the weight doesn't really matter because not everybody is going to have a tire to train on, and not all tires are created equal. The one I'm training on right now is about 500 pounds, and it's good. I mean, it's an endurance thing for me. I get gassed pretty easily. So if it's any heavier than that, which I assume it will be, I'm anticipating the tire we have is going to be big and heavy because again, I'm trying not to assume too much, but if I had to guess, our tire for the 120 will probably be the same tire as the open and even potentially the same as the 105s, just so they don't have to have a massive amount of tires there. So it may be heavier for the 105s, somewhere in the middle for us, and then a little bit lighter for the opens. That would be my guess. Because then like I said, then they don't have to source a tire for each and every group. And I think combining a tire for the 105s, the 120s, and the opens, especially given how many people are in those groups, would probably be the smartest way to go. So that's what I'm anticipating. So we'd be somewhere in the middle in terms of intensity for it. Probably close to 800 pounds would be my guess for the tire. So that's a crapshoot, honestly. And then the loading medley, keg, Inukshuk, and sandbag. I've been doing some sandbag carries. I've not yet done an actual medley to see. I'm probably going to do that this week, just for giggles, just to see, where I'm at, because I have a keg. I've got my keg. I have to reweigh it. I think it's about 250. My Inukshuk is 280, and I have a 300-pound sandbag. So I don't know where I'm going to get in terms of loading. I'm going to try and see if I can do at least a good run of the 3. Like I said, just for giggles, just to see where I'm at for that. They haven't given us the weights for that, but that's neither here nor there. The other thing, Andrew, when I had him on the show, told me that the order of the event could change. So it's not necessarily going to be dumbbell, deadlift, yoke, sandbag, tire flip. The only thing he did say is that the tire flip will be last, which makes sense. And I personally, I don't mind the order that they released it in. However, if I had to guess, I think it would be closer to yoke, dumbbell, deadlift, loading, tire flip. That's my predicted order, is that we'll start with the yoke, we'll go to the pressing, then we'll come back and do deadlifts for reps, then we'll do the sandbag load, and then we'll do the tire flip. That would be my guess for the order of events, just because I like to predict. I like to give my guesses and my thoughts on it. Why do I think that? Because that's similar to what we did in 2024. We did the yoke first, then we had the pressing medley, which was a dumbbell and a log. Then we did not the tire flip. We did the car deadlift for reps. Then we had to do a sandbag carry, which I didn't do because I couldn't pick up the Inukshuk. And then we ended up doing Atlas Stone at the end. So basing off of that and kind of how I've seen the pattern of these shows get put together, that's sort of how I would see it going. So we have weights for 3 of the events. How am I feeling? I feel okay. Mentally, I'm not going to lie, it's been a bit of a struggle. There have been some things outside of the gym that have weighed on me, but I do pretty good at shutting those things off when I get to the gym and just focusing on the task at hand. My nutrition the last 2 weeks has not been great, but that's by my own fault. I've just, I kind of fell off a bit, but, meals are prepped for this week and I'm back at it. So that's good. So I've got 8 weeks to hone it in. And I think falling off 10 or 12 weeks out is better than falling off 1 or 2 weeks out. So honing it in for the next 8 weeks, making sure my weight stays under 264 or close to 264. If I get over that, I can always water cut the week of, which I've done in the past. So I'm not super stressed about that. But right now I'm I'm between 262 and 265. Seems to be where I'm walking around at right now. And I'm good with that. That's manageable. So I'll go back to the nutrition that Tamara had laid out for me and follow that back to being, following it to a T, or at least close to it. I'm about 99, not 99. I'm probably like 90% compliant. Every now and then I'll throw in a bag of Skittles or something just because I lack impulse control. So what was the other thing? Oh, my sleep. The last week my sleep has gotten better. I don't know if I talked about this before or not, but my sleep up into Goliath games was terrible. Even the night before Goliath games, I think I slept an hour or two the night before Goliath games. And that week, I had not strung together 2 or 3 hours in a row on a nightly basis. I would just be awake. I would be awake with a panic attack. I'd be awake, sweating, whatever the case. Like, I just could not get it together. But the last few nights the last couple of weeks, I would say, have been much better in terms of either sleeping through the night or getting 4 or 5 hours, then waking up and then going back to bed. So it's been better in that sense. So that's where we're at. That's things are moving, things are getting better. I feel good. I've had a couple of lingering nagging things. Like I've had wrist problems. Obviously my low back with my psoas has not been 100%, but I'm still working on it, getting it stretched, getting my steps in, making sure I'm taking care of it to avoid any big injury on it. And I'm going to really focus on that over the next 8 weeks, get some massages in, get some more stretching in, just to try to keep myself in one piece up into and after Provincials. So there's 2 more shows on the calendar. Andrew's show's coming up this coming weekend as of recording for Battle at the Brink. And then Paul Longboat's show, Six Nations in Caledonia next month. So when I say next month, we're almost the end of this month, in June. And that's another couple of chances for guys to get qualified. Now I've seen the athlete list and I'm biased. I'm only looking at the 120s because that's what affects me. So some more people qualified at Muskoka, obviously. And then there's 2 more shows still for the 120s. Not a lot of guys in the 120s. I saw one guy registered for Andrew's show, and then I think 2 or 3 are registered for Paul's show. Now there is one guy in the 105s who is registered as a 105. I'll just call him out here. He likes to send me stuff to trigger me. It's Mason Fisher, who was registered as a 105 for Muskoka and almost missed weight by 2 weight groups. He ended up competing as a 120. And he's registered as a 105 for Paul's show. But again, I could see Mason just competing as a 120. He's a big boy. And he's a strong boy. I don't know why he wants to try to cut down to being a 105. And I've said this about Andrew Wilson too. Andrew's cut down and competed at 105, but I think he does better as a 120. Maybe that's just the optics of it. I never got a chance to ask him if that's what he believes, but I think Andrew's a better 120 than he is a 105. And I feel the same with Mason too. And I'm saying that as a guy who's scared of Mason because Mason kicked my ass, not just in competition, but probably in person as well. So, do I want him in the 120s? Not if I want to, do good, but at the same time, like, you're not going to get better by beating people that are worse than you. And, guys like him are sort of, they're here, and those are the guys that I need to get better than and need to beat. So it'll be interesting to see if Mason comes into Provincials as a 120 or as a 105. But I honestly could see him in as a 120. And I've competed against him in the 120s before. And again, he does really, really well. So that's it. That's where we're at. Outside of the amateur scene, there was some news on the pro circuit that the Strongest Man on Earth is not happening anymore. Brian Shaw talked about it on his podcast with his wife that he's selling off equipment and he's not doing it again. And it's really sad because it was a good show. It was a heavy show and it was a punishing show. And it kind of put pressure on other shows on the pro circuit to do better things. Personally, I think the issue is that Brian can't do anything half-assed. And I don't know him personally. Obviously, I'm a nobody. But just based on what I've seen him post, what he's talked about, and people that I do know that are on that level, is that Brian can't do anything half-assed. It's got to be the biggest, the best. And if he can't do it as the biggest and the best, then there's no point in doing it. And, that's why he gave out the most money. That's why the show was the size it was. That's why he hosted it where he did. But there's just not that demand in America, or in North America for that matter, like there is in Europe. You look at the Giants live circuit in Europe, and those shows are huge, and they draw massive crowds. Now, we can sit here and talk about why that is until the cows come home. Is it because of the popularity of the athletes? Is it because it's a smaller, condensed area? People can get to places a lot easier. Like Brian hosts his show in Colorado. It's a pain in the ass for someone, say, in New York or Florida to get up to Colorado just to go to a strongman show, right? Versus in Europe, where it's a little bit closer. You can kind of drive to most places wherever they're hosting it. So it makes it a lot more convenient in Europe to be able to do those shows than it does, say, in North America, because Canada is the same way. If we were to have a pro show in Quebec, someone from Alberta is not driving out to Quebec necessarily just to watch, right? When you can watch it online. So it's difficult. I know they had a Giants live show in Vegas last year, and I don't think it did particularly well. Vegas is probably a smarter place to host it just because it's a tourist destination. So if they didn't do incredibly well there, then I'm not really surprised that the turnout for Strongest Man on Earth was what it was. Again, just based on location. That said, and this is nothing about the quality of the show. The quality of the show was great. I've watched the live stream every year Brian's had it, and I don't mind paying to watch it. This is what I've said about World's Strongest Man. If World's Strongest Man said, hey, it's $30 to watch the live stream of the show for the weekend, cool, I'll pay it because I'm interested and I want to watch it, and I know the money's going back into the show. I don't expect it all to be streamed free like Rogue does. Rogue has that luxury to stream their stuff live on YouTube and for free, which is great. Not for me, I pay for YouTube Premium because I hate ads. But Brian threw it up there and he said, pay for the whatever, the membership, and you can watch The Strongest Man on Earth. Yeah, I'll pay that. Cool, because I want to watch it. So it's kind of disappointing that now we went from having World's Strongest Man, the Rogue Invitational, the Arnold Strongman Classic, and The Strongest Man on Earth. Now we're just down to the three big shows. And Giants Live is in there as well. I know that, but a lot of them are very, they tie in differently. And that's one that you can, again, I'll pay that membership to watch some of those shows because they're exciting. So it's disappointing to hear that Brian's not doing that show anymore. It takes just one more show away, but I'm not a pro athlete. I don't know any of the pro athletes personally, so I don't know how they feel about it. And I don't know where that fell into their training or into their prep, or if they wanted, I'm not going to speculate on that. As a fan, though, I'm a little bit disappointed because I enjoyed watching it. It was entertaining. He had new events. He had a standing bench press event. They were pulling tractors and balers last year. Like there was a visually pleasing show, and it was a heavy show, and it was a hard show. And that's what you want from strongman, not just heavy CrossFit, which is where it's kind of moving to. But anyways, I'm going off on a tangent about that now. I just wanted to touch on that briefly because I had feelings about it as a fan. And I think that's pretty much it. So back to prep this week. It's Monday as I'm recording this. I've got squats today and then into the rest of the week. So here we go. The home stretch, 8 weeks to go. I'm hoping to have Paul on to talk about his show in the next couple of weeks before it happens and talk about his training for Provincials because he's a guy that I compete against. He's in the 120s and he's a guy that I look up to and a guy that I want to eventually beat someday. Has not happened yet. Might happen someday. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But I do know that the drive to beat guys that are better than me is what keeps me going. And I happen to think most guys are better than me, so it keeps me very motivated. So it's good. I'm also hoping, and again, as my old man says, announcing your plans is a good way to hear God laugh. I am also hoping to get up north to see my friend Bo. He has a very heavy tire, that I want to try to flip, because again, it's probably the heaviest tire that I know around. And if I can flip it, then I'll be like, okay, cool. Like mentally, that's my little check mark. So, Bo, if you're listening, I'm going to try and come up there and get in a session with you and hopefully with BJ as well. BJ competes in the Open, and a guy that I've picked the brain of a lot of times. BJ's a guy that anytime I've had a question about technique or about, what do you recommend, he's one that, will always, if he's got the time, he will give you the help, or at least, so I always appreciate his input as well. And then anytime I get a chance to train with fellow competitors, whether they're in my group or not, I always welcome it, because 9 times out of 10 I train by myself, and it does get hard to push yourself when you're by yourself. That's just the long and short of it. I do my best. Whenever people are around, it's a bonus, but most times I'm by myself. And yeah, it can get draining. It can get, sometimes you have that day where you're like, nah, I don't know about this, but I got to push myself, because I know right now there are over 20 competitors in the 120 that are pushing themselves every single day. I have to push myself every single day because I know they are. And even if they're not, I assume they are, because that's how I'm going to stay strong and and try to get to the next level, is telling myself, like, these guys are training harder than you are, Phil. They're out there training harder than you are. They're eating better than you are. They're sleeping better than you are. Push yourself. That's my motivation. I try not to watch their stuff when they post it on social media, because I don't want it to get that too much in my head. But telling myself that guys are training hard is what keeps me going to say, well, I'm going to train harder, and I'm going to train smarter, and I'm going to train better. So, and then we'll see what's there on the day. But like I said, 7 weeks of training plus a deload, feeling good, doing my best, trying to do better, and I hope you are as well. I appreciate everybody that tunes in and listens to these little vlogs. I've appreciated all the feedback on any video I've done, and I think I've got just over 60 subscribers right now, which is terrific. If I can somehow get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year, amazing. And if I don't, I don't. I'm not doing this for subs. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this because I just like talking, and it's fun to run my mouth. But I am grateful for everybody that listens and everybody that gives me feedback on this, because I understand who I am. I am somebody who is appealing to the amateur strongman scene in Southern Ontario. That is about as niche as it gets. So there is not a big audience for that, and not a lot of people care what I have to say or what I'm doing. But the ones that do, I appreciate it. The ones that are hate watching, I see you as well, and I appreciate your views, because views are views. So as always, do your best, stay strong, and I will catch you on the flip side.